All right, it says we're live. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. See, the checks are in place. And you know how we started. You know how we started with a little dance.
You can't win, you can't break even, and you can't get out of the game. People keep saying things are gonna change, but they look just like they stay the same. You're getting way over your head, and you only got yourself to blame. You can't win, child, can't break even, can't get out of the game. Yeah. I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
What's up, boss? You believe that? You hold on. Oh no. Do you believe that? Huh? Oh no. Ah! Oh no. Come on. Do you believe?
All right. I know I have to get some new ones, man, but I love that collection. Sometimes it's just like going on there just to play those. That's funny. Anyway, welcome some people. Adric, what's going on? Lithium, what's going on? Lithium 19. I'm listening. What's going on? Artisan MC. The mix master is in the house. We're waiting on that. We're waiting on that last low key to drop. Man, this has been it's like Doctor Who, man, on steroids. Man, it's so confusing sometimes. Eddie, what's going on? An AMC sighting. I heard that. Encrypted Wolf, what's going on? Blessing, what's going on? I mean, Hurricane Greg, what's going on? Andre, what's up? AB Media. We'll have to do a review of Yvette Carnell's Blue No Matter Who, man. Just go through some things because a lot of shit we were saying hell 2 years ago. Now they're starting to say. Supreme Pivot. I believe. Shout out to the master teacher. Appreciate you. Very Little with the getting things rolling with the super chat. Salute BGS. It is a failure and disaster of epic proportions. Yeah, it is a failed experiment. Encrypted Wolf. Let's see. Forever Blessed. What's happening? Rashad, what's going on? Let's see what else we got. Bruce on Wayne. Okay. What's up with all you dusty ninjas? Okay, you guys ain't shit. Let's see. Gundam, what's going on? Let's see what else we got. Sam C, what's happening? Detroit 313, what's up? Trouble Man 313. Already SBW, heard that. Trail, what's happening? Craig, what's up? That's the dance I'm doing when the McRib comes back. I heard that. Yeah, we be at the we be at the drive-in going open when the McRib comes back. Coach DC, what's happening? G Darius, what's happening? Cool Gamer, Red Boy, Pragmatic Prime, what's up, man? Darren Smith, Indigo Flow, what's up, man? Red Boy, what's happening? Ash, what's happening with the 9.99? Appreciate you. Shannon Green, what's happening? It's time for the buzzer beater to start their searching. I heard that, man. It's even worse than that. Oh, Guns Machete, what's happening? Said Dreamy Entity is a Dreamy Entertainment. Appreciate you. Henderson Bancroft, the field marshal, is in the building. Oh, is he? Okay, I haven't seen him. Chemistry, what's happening? Let's see. Alex the Wolf, Trail with the $5, stirring some of the dust. I heard that. Stephen Dunn, what's going on? We got a PhD sighting in the building. A High Scholar, what's happening? This you might be interested in this one, High Scholar, because this is something that with the pendulum has to swing back to the other side, and they're gonna need people like you. Yeah, the Doctor. Yeah, they're not pulling it off. Yeah, they're not pulling off the vibe. Well, it's Doctor Who plays for the crowd that it plays in with that funky kind of science, but for Marvel, man, it's kind of weak. Vanilla or chocolate cake. I always lean toward chocolate. Let's see. Leon, what's going on, Phil? For brown and black women, for all women, really. The only John, the only one John. Okay, is it only one John? Okay, I hope that's a pimp reference. Rob Sawyer, what's up? The Watcher. First time making a live show. Okay, appreciate you. Buleri, thanks for the Korean thing. I did see it. I did see it. Yeah, yeah. We've been trying to say that, man. It's yeah. When they play with something like that's this old, man, it usually winds up in a disaster. Dreddy, what's up? Tree trunk. It's not a failure. The outcome exactly what is intended. Not really. Not really. It's far from it. Anyway, it's got Y'all Borgen. Feminism is the all woman fire crew setting the force. Try to prove they put it out. I think so. You might have a point there. J Lock. And there's my girl Toya with the apple. Yeah. At the apple. You know what they call the apple. What they call the apple. Toya got a big apple. Okay. Yeah. Hey Toya, do you believe that Yvonne Orji of Insecure is a virgin? I don't. But I have technically she might be. With lips like hers, she might be technically a virgin. Technically. All right, let's get started. Um, I was gonna do something else, but had something else planned for the day. But sometimes, man, stuff pops up, and what popped up is one of our favorite white girls, Susan Vinker, and a show she just did today. And I woke up and it was like 2 hours, and she had did a short show, and and a lot of that stuff was right in line with what we've been saying. So I'm gonna do this one, and then there's another one that from I think her name is Kearney, Melissa Kearney. She just wrote a new book called the Two Parent Advantage, and and the two parent. Let's see if I can find. There she is. Okay, the Two Parent Advantage is right in line with Brookings Institute, with Chetty's work with Black boys, and then what's his name? Uh, Reeves' book of men and boys and men, and then Galloway's work and a couple of other people's work, right? Which is why they're trying to suppress Kevin and Andrew Tate and people like that, right? And insert Pearl and what's her name? Candace Owens is on the beat. Candace Owens almost sounds exactly like Pearl now. So this is not unintentional. When you see all these things line up, this is not unintentional. Okay, this is not unintentional. There's a reason for this, and I won't be able to get into everything today because me and Dr. T's got something to do I think it's at 4 o'clock, so Pacific time. So I won't be doing everything today, but I wanted to get this in because a lot of stuff that we talk about, all this kind of stuff lines up. So yeah, Susan Vinker, yes, I've played her before. Said, did you see Leslie Jones and the Breakfast Club complaining about the mandatory passport bros? I did not see it. I will look her up. Yeah, Owens has been on a streak of late. Yeah, well, Candace, Candace Owens and people like that, Shapiro and Pearl are all in this all-encompassing group, man. This conservative group, and so and they're joining with the so-called I call them limousine liberals on the other side, and they're together because they need to push back this wave. Okay, none of them want the radical manosphere, global manosphere, to come together and start taking apart this global society, because what they found out is that they're wrong. And we've shown that about them being wrong, right? About uh, for the last 3 months or so, right? About women not wanting to be in the breadwinning position, right? I played with Vinker's groomed to be a man, right? And them having babies and have to reverse themselves. Emily K. Williams is saying the same thing. There's a whole bunch of people saying the exact same thing, right? They've been that some of the older second wave feminists uh, have been talking about since 2010. A lot of the older second wave feminists have been talking about this, that this is going to be a problem. And if they can't get women on board, then it's going to be an issue. And some of the other second wave feminists were saying that it's not just an issue, that it's not going to work, because at the end of the day, women don't work like that. Men and women are vastly different. And Melissa Kearney I think his name is Kearney. Yes, is saying the same thing. Okay, even though she's a leftist. Okay, she's a neoliberal leftist. But let's go ahead and get started. Present this. Share screen. There we are. Let's see, put me down here. That'll be better. And the title is, and just today, single motherhood is not the answer to the lack of marriageable men. Okay, so in other words, this is a white woman saying that that the lack of so-called marriageable men is no reason that we should have all these single mothers and out of wedlock births, in a sense. Okay, so that's the title. We're gonna go ahead and make this um, hype it up and make this large screen, and we're gonna play her, and we're gonna get to work. Let's see. Whatever the equivalent of let them eat cake is for modern Western women, I'm for that. Well, I think the passport bros, the growth of the passport bros, is the let them eat cake uh, thing. Okay, I think that's what a lot of the Western men are tapping into the other, 3 billion women, and say, let them eat cake. If you don't want this, you don't want to live this kind of uh, traditional lifestyle that's been proven to work over 100,000 years, then guess what? We out too. So check. If you guys can hear this, give me a one if you guys can hear this.
From the magnificent Midwest, it's the Suzanne Venker Show, where men and women are equal in value, but
All
wildly
right.
different by
All right, very good.
nature. Join us here every week as we challenge the culture.
Susan Venker is a traditionalist, so she's not quite an anti-feminist, but she's a traditionalist. She's I would call her a feminist critic. She's not really anti-feminist because she works with them all the time, but she's a feminist critic because her mother worked. Her mother was an original feminist because she said her mother worked at and you'll hear in this video, her mother worked at a at a brokerage, a stock brokerage. So her mother was one of those second wave feminists.
Culture's hugely flawed narratives about men, women, sex, and love. From coast to coast and from around the world, thank you for joining us. So there's a new book out called The Two-Parent Privilege by economist Melissa Carney.
We'll get into her after this, right? We'll play one of her videos after this. I try to find the shortest video I could of her. I might even delve into doing her tomorrow in long form, because that is the next step that they're actually looking forward to. So you're gonna hear her name a lot. I haven't read the book. I have the book, but I haven't read the book yet. So I have to get into that. I might make that a weekend project.
And it's essentially a case for marriage. Carney compiled data that proves unequivocally how significant marriage is, not just for children, but for our economy and for society as a whole. And I have a link in this video to 2 articles that highlight some of the points in Carney's book. The most significant being that more and more women are choosing to have children and remain single.
Yep. Bingo.
And when these women were asked why, as part of the research, most of them said it's not that they don't want to get married, but that there are simply no good, quote unquote, good men from which to choose.
And we have been hearing that in the Black community for the last 50 years, right? Okay. And there's usually like a 20 to 30 year lag for white people, is because there's way more of them. Even though from the very beginning, the percentage was lower, but guess what? The numbers of single mothers in the white community was higher. Black women, because their percentage of people is so low, their numbers are actually last. Okay, there's actually less single Black mothers than there are single white mothers. But the thing is, they're so concentrated because our numbers are so low. But when white women as a whole, the percentage goes up, the number is going to skyrocket. That's the issue. So now it's not just a personal issue or a culture issue within white culture, but now it's an economic and a societal issue. And right now it's a global issue. So they have to push back. Continuing.
And by good, they mean marriageable, let's face it. And that essentially means being gainfully employed. This conundrum is without
which men, a single man has no control over. We do not have control over the economy. Okay. A single man, the average guy, has no influence or control over the economy as far as employment.
Without a doubt, the biggest culprit when it comes to the massive decline in marriage today. And so the obvious follow-up question is, how did we get here? And what, if anything, can be done about it? But there's another problem when it comes to trying to solve this problem. And that is that very few people in power are willing to address this topic because it is a landmine for them.
Yep.
They'll lose votes, or they'll lose followers, or they'll lose clients if they talk openly and honestly about this very loaded topic.
Say it again, white girl.
So they say nothing. And it is in this silence where the problem festers. None of these folks want to admit, for example, that men in America have been marginalized. Nor do they acknowledge that men and women are not equal, as in the same, but are in fact wildly different.
Say it again, white girl.
Which gets at the heart of what's happened with marriage. And they definitely don't want to talk about the fact that women prefer to marry men of equal or greater status, even though we all know this to be true. And it's also for good reason, because women are the sex that becomes vulnerable when they get pregnant, and therefore need a stable man on whom they can rely when the time comes.
Say it again, white girl.
Problem is, nobody warned them. Instead, women were groomed to become their own breadwinners and to never rely on a man, even if only temporarily, which in turn causes them to become stuck down the line when they get pregnant.
I used to call this the niggerization of America, right? In other words, they turned good, submissive, patriarchal white women into what? Gynocratic Black women. The verbiage and the tone and the words are almost, well, not even almost, actually identical. Go back 30 years. This is identical.
And men heard this message too.
Yes.
It undermined their incentive to produce because
Yes.
that's how men feel their greatest sense of purpose.
But when we did it, when black men did it, we were dysfunctional. Okay, we were defective. We needed to be locked up, or we needed to be prosecuted. Okay, if you couldn't pay your child support bill, they threw you in jail because nobody cared, right? Because we're the disposable class. If it happens to them, nobody cares. Guess what? The tangle pathology, when Clark talked about it in 1964, 65, and Moynihan tried to push it out there, nobody cared because we were a disposable class. Au contraire, what, 50 years later, guess what? Now everybody cares.
By producing. What's the point of getting married if women don't need them to provide?
Uh, uh, uh. Slow clap. Okay. Sounds just like us, right?
So now we have a nation of women who are out educating and out earning men and who
Ah,
eventually become so desperate for a baby, they're choosing to have one on their own rather than marry a man who is not a stable earner.
uh. Oh my God. How I feel to be black. How I feel to be black, white girl. How I feel.
This is the number one reason marriage in America has tanked.
Mm. Ah.
Until we have the courage to say out loud that men and women are not interchangeable and that they, in fact, play unique roles in family life once children come along, we will be stuck exactly where we are right now, with fewer and fewer married parents and children who are suffering as a result. Single parent homes, which are by and large single mother homes, are not good enough for kids. We know this.
Oh, but when black women were doing it, guess what? They were strong and independent, and basically they didn't need a man. And in fact, they said that they were better off. Okay, because guess what? Guess what? Back then, what all black men were what? Notice the color of this particular brother, right? Notice the color of this particular cat, right? What color is this dog? What color is that, Dusty? Okay, continuing.
It's just that no one wants to say it because everyone knows single mothers who are doing the best they can. And I get that it's hard to hear. But that can't be a reason for staying silent when things are this dire.
Hey, Lewis, I got to find some brioche hot dog buns, man. What's going on with this brioche, man? It must be too expensive to make. Anyhow, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you.
Melissa Carney is one of the few courageous people who felt that she could no longer hide from the facts that she had unearthed over these 10 years that she'd been researching this book.
Yeah, we all pick.
And they were facts that became overwhelmingly obvious. Kids who grow up in single parent households are dramatically disadvantaged. Kids who are not.
Question: so does all this count as cultural appropriation? No, this is a cultural decay that they didn't catch. They're not appropriating anything. Okay, this is a function of the environment and the policies that you set up. Okay, but they didn't think it would happen to them. They didn't trust and believe. They didn't try to appropriate this. Okay, this is not what they intended. Said brioche makes the best French toast. Yes, it does. And Indigo Flow, say it again, white girl. She's preaching. She's preaching, man.
Not raised in two-parent homes are more likely to grow up in poverty,
Uh,
less likely to finish high school, less likely to go to college,
uh,
and more likely to get suspended from school or get involved in crime.
say it again, white girl. Say it again. Say it again.
And that's just the boys.
That's the boy.
The girl, or mostly that tends to be boys for sure. The girls tend to have a leg up because they still have a female role model, but they too lose access to their fathers. And we have not only downplayed in this country, but completely rejected how crucial fathers are to their children's development. Millions of boys and girls are growing up without a father in the home. And for boys in particular who lack any role model whatsoever for manhood, this marks the beginning of their downward trajectory.
Now, when it's happening to the black boys, nobody cared. Okay, that's why I played that video, man. That's why I put that video out about a disposable class. Okay, what happens when a disposable class actually becomes a whole class? What happens? What happens when what happens to them infects the whole entire culture? I'm not just talking about here. I'm talking about the whole entire world. Didn't just happen here.
And that problem leads directly to the marriage problem. Because again, women prefer to marry men of equal or greater status.
Mm.
And there are fewer and fewer of those men around
Uh.
because they didn't have fathers and a stable home life to help them
Uh.
get to that point of becoming.
Oh, now we acknowledge the chicken and egg theory, huh? Okay, you didn't make them, so by the time they get to be adulthood, guess what? The men that you want are not there, huh? Now we said that 40 years ago. Nobody listened and nobody cared, including white men, white women, and black women. They didn't care. I'm gonna give me a white man. I'm gonna give me other. I'm gonna get on the government. Now, a lot of your white men are just as dusty as us. What are you gonna do now?
Grown men. So if we know this to be true, and we do, again, there are those two questions. How did we get here? And what do we do about it? I don't want to spend too much time talking about how we got here because I feel personally like I've beaten this subject to death. For those of you who don't know, in 2012, I wrote the Fox News article and subsequent ebook, The War on Men, which argued that we've demonized men and pit the sexes against each other.
Ron, actually, it's got a new term for you. Be just gynecratic necrosis. That's true. But also, what I want to put out is even more serious, man, because it's shock them up, called the white tangle of pathology. Okay, the white tangle of pathology. That'll get them shaking in their boots. Evil Sosa, glad you're covering this. I sat on her material for about 2 years now. Yep. She's saying the same thing we're saying.
In a game of one-upmanship. So we can hardly be surprised at the results we now have with marriage. As a side note, if you're looking for that ebook, I have a link to that below as well on this video. As for what to do about it, I think there are 4 main areas of focus. I'm sure there are more, but these seem to me to be the most crucial. Number 1, we put family first again. I know that sounds like a soundbite, but it really is true, and I do believe it's possible. It has to do with the way we raise our children. Our values in this country are completely out of whack. We worship at the altar of money and fame and completely dismiss that true happiness and satisfaction can only be found in the relationships we build at home.
So tell that to the Alpha Your Way Through It guys in the sector. Reading Dardar, they thought they could isolate the dysfunction to black folks, particularly to black men. They funked up when they made black dysfunction and pain a commodity and exported all over the nation, not just all over the nation, all over the world, man. They should have never gave Negroes YouTube, right? And TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, okay? All right, I might have to get the ebook. I might have to dig into this, okay? Because now we have PhDs, man, at the academic level that can actually kind of need this kind of stuff to actually go fight these battles. Anyway, continuing.
So that's where our focus needs to be. It's just a matter of prioritizing. It's not an either or scenario for our children. It's here's what matters. Here's the end goal and here's the means to get there. So it's just this shifting of our value system. We need to teach our children this stuff from day one and model it as well. Modeling is just as important, of course. So that's number 1. Putting family first, like not just saying it, but actually doing it.
Yes,
modeling
yes.
Number 2, we stop demonizing men.
Yes.
This
Say it again, white girl. Say it again, white girl.
is probably the biggest. Maybe it should have been number 1. Just stop. If you have an issue with a particular man, whether it's a father or a husband or a coworker or a boss, keep it about that individual. You don't need to make a social statement about men as a whole every time something happens. And that's what we've been doing for the past 50 years.
Say it again, white girl.
My mother, who's now deceased, some of you may know this if you've been listening for a super long time, was a stockbroker. She had an MBA. She was born in 1930, so this was very unusual. And she was surrounded by men in the 60s when she was working. And she worked obviously mostly for men. And she did have a sexist boss. And she tried to handle that on her own personally at first and wasn't happy. So she quit. And she went to find another investment firm, also male dominated, where she was treated very differently. The lesson being that when something isn't working for you, change it and make something happen without making a generalized statement about men as a whole or the field, working with men as a whole. There are good men and there are bad men. There are good women and there are bad women. So focus on your experiences personally and address the individual rather than making it about something society-wide. That's really where the demonizing men came into play. It's just we stopped looking at people individually and started making blanket statements about men as a group, most of which are absolutely wrong and it's just done tremendous damage. There's just no question about that. I don't think anybody can argue that. Number 3, we stop pitting men and women against each other in search of some utopian concept of equality.
Yes, yes.
Men and women are indeed capable of doing many of the same things, but that doesn't mean they want to, or that they want to do so with equal fervor.
Yes.
Men and women have different needs and different desires, and this will become super clear once children come along. So it's time that we talked openly about those differences and not let politics stand in our way. This is how you bring people together.
Yes.
What we're doing right now is just pushing them apart. And number 4, we raise boys to become men.
Yes, yes. That's what Monahan said back in 1965, and everybody lambasted him for it. What he's talking about black boys, it was different. When it's talking about black boys, nobody cared. Okay, has feminism failed? Yes, ever since they put the blame on Jermaine. Yeah, well, yeah, they learned that from black women. They learned that from black women. When she says family first, she means her and her kids first. What's the needs of men does she meet? Until men's needs are met, no deal. In other words, that's what she means. Okay, family means not just the women and not just kids. Okay, kids become men, boys become men. That's where you have to start. You have to start with the boys. It's the BGS tax for Mashan. Appreciate you. And what else we got? I think that's it. No. The sneak, speed the video up. Okay, it's a drag. All right, I'll speed it up. D in the house, watching from the UK. Okay, appreciate you. All right, we'll speed it up just a bit.
And that means raising them the way they used to be raised. And that means needing a father in the home. That's number 1. This gets tricky now because so many boys are being raised without fathers. And since a boy needs a father in order to grow up to become a man, that means more marriages are going to
Yes, we've been saying that forever, right? Monahan said the exact same thing.
Have to survive. So that's really at the core of this problem of where have all the good men gone? It starts with staying married to the father and then raising them to become men. And not coddling them, which is something that happens very often in single parent, which are usually single mother households.
Yes.
You have a single mother and boys, and there's no father in the home. And so those boys are being raised exclusively by women. So of course they're going to be less
Feminine.
in touch with their masculinity.
Yes, we've been saying that about black boys forever. Nobody cared.
So this messaging that they're getting left and right is not helping boys at all. So if the answer is for marriages to survive, if that's the beginning of it, then the answer to that, in my opinion, is relationship education. I think this needs to be in our schools and certainly in our homes, and possibly even at the government level. At the very least, we need policies that support marriage rather than encouraging the opposite. There actually are some relationship education policies right now in place. I don't know how successful they are, and I certainly wouldn't turn to the government really for this answer. But it doesn't hurt to have something in place that makes a statement, at least, about the significance of this problem. I think it would, at the very least, do that. But you can see the landmine here that I talked about earlier.
Mississippi Delta with the humpback donation. Appreciate you, bro. Captain Cisco, feminism needs to stop destroying the male movie too. Yeah, that's part of the messaging. Okay. Anyhow, continuing.
Clear. Because it's one thing to discuss these matters in private, knowing how big they are, and another to admit them out loud or talk about them publicly. But no problem can ever be solved with silence. It's not going to happen. So thank God for YouTube, I guess, which may be our last and best hope for changing hearts and minds. But
when we say that about YouTube and about the Black Manosphere, and y'all just hear on YouTube and was it in your echo chambers, and doesn't make a difference because black men are saying it. Guess what? It gets spit on. Listen to the white girl. Say it again, white girl.
It comes to the importance of marriage and how to make it work again. Again, you're not going to hear this in the media.
Yes.
So, at least we have YouTube.
Yes.
I don't know what.
At least we got YouTube. Say it again, white girl.
What else to say except for that. So that's all I got for today. Till next time.
All right. All right. That's our favorite white girl. Okay. Everybody thinks Pearl is our favorite white girl. Pearl is not our favorite white girl. Okay. Susan Vinker has become our favorite white girl, at least on my channel. Okay. So send her a like. Go to her channel, go to the video, like the video. Okay. I see that she's growing since the black manosphere started playing her more. So she's growing. So maybe that message will get out to the people that matter. Okay. I would like to say that the black men in this space and the black people in this space matter. But the thing is, it's still a white European dominated country. Okay. And basically all the white people, all white Europeans and the Western people have all the same problem, which is why we have to inject ourselves as a black manosphere into that process and get our peace. Okay. And it's not time to stand on the sidelines and wait for the trickle down theory. We got to go get it. In fact, we got to be at the head of the line. Okay. So when they dish out this stuff, okay, we're first in line. Okay. That's what I always wanted. Anticipate where this stuff is going and get the black manosphere first in line. Our scholars, our politicians, we are teachers, our businessmen. Okay. When they hand out this stuff, the nonprofit stuff, all that kind of stuff, we want to be first in line. Okay. Because the pendulum is swinging. Okay. It's going back the other way. So we got to be on the head of that pendulum, right? We got to invoke Kevin Samuels and every other black man that's actually advocated this and get this not only for us, but also for our males, our boys, like your sons and my grandsons. Okay. I got 5 grandsons that need this kind of work, that need this kind of help. It can only come from a society. No individual people can raise any further than the society will let them. It's impossible. It's impossible. You have to work within a system. Clark S., I suspect factions of white America will make steps to remedy the ills of feminism per recommendation, but black America, we have to go get ours, man. We can't sit back and wait. Is the point of the video where I said, we were right. Yeah, we have to go get ours, okay? It ain't about, you can't sit on sidelines. You can't wait for Barack Obama too to come and do it for you. You got to go get yours. Western women are raised to be partners. Black women are a step beyond that. They were raised to be managers. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Okay. Okay, we're 39 minutes in. Let us go get, I think I saved it on the video file. Trump 20. It doesn't matter who's in. I don't give a shit. I care not who sits on the crown. Okay, on the throne. Right. We got to go get ours. Okay. Stop waiting for Trump. Go get yours. Okay. Did you manage to see my super chat? I don't think so, David Burt. Let's go back and look. I don't think so. If you sent it, if I didn't see it. I think I read them all. Sosa, the Leon, Toya. Toya says, I love it here. Let's see. Well, Canis, Johnny Mac, Louis Conyer. Well, Canis. Oh, there he is, David Burt. Okay, could you do an update video to the Why Men Go MGTOW 2014? It's been 10 years, and I think it will show you how right you were. I might do. I think I've done updates to it in a sense, but not as concise as that. Um, but I've done more stuff since then. I'll think about it. Anyhow, let's go get the other one. Said Lithium says I'm in AWS as your networking classes, Mr. BGS. Appreciate you, man. Go get it, man. Go get it while it's hot, man. Before AI comes in and takes your job, man. Stay ahead of the curve. I tell everybody that. Stay the fuck ahead of the curve, man. Don't stop studying. The flop of the Marvels will be a wake up call. I wish it was, man. Really, what it should have been a wake up call is Barbie. Barbie made almost $2 billion. That's what women want. They don't want us. They don't want a Marvels. Okay, stay out of our shit. But that's beside the point. Let's see. So what's up, Chad? What's up, BGS? Here's my donation for the spicy chicken wrap at Burger King. So your rant this week was a growing pain, but needed. Okay, appreciate you. Yeah, I did. There was another rant I started to do this morning. I might put it up later on. Let's see. Where are we? Where are we? Let's see. That's the wrong one. Go back. I might have to find her again. I can't see her. That's what happens when you save stuff. And it's in a large file. I should have pulled it all out. I might just go to the video itself. We just go to the video itself. Let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. Go to the video itself. This is going to be Melissa S. Kearney. That's the shortest one I could find of hers. The shortest one I could find of hers. Because most of the stuff that she has is like hours long because she's an academic. And she's out of the University of Chicago. So the shortest one I could find of her, she was being interviewed by, I do believe, Bloomberg. Okay, here we are. So we're going to pull that back. You'll present this, share screen, and we'll share this. And this is from Bloomberg. And most of her videos were like hour and a half long, and I thought that was too long for this one. So this is one of the shortest ones I could actually find of hers. So this is your next move, okay? Like I said, you had Ross Chetty about the plight of black boys in 2017, 2018, and then you had Men and Boys echoing the same sentiment in 2020, along with Scott Galloway and a few others, right? Okay, so now that's the one, that's two, that's three. Okay, this is the third one. This is the next wave, right? You have to set up the feminists to actually push the wave back and consider boys. And now they have to start trying to rebuild the families. Okay, this is also going on in China, believe it or not. Anyway, we're gonna play it at 1.25 and see how that works, and we're gonna get it.
Where you are, and really looking at family structure as an important determining factor. Well, David, I have been studying U.S. income inequality and poverty and social mobility for over 20 years, and I've been in countless, at this point, policy conversations and academic conversations about these issues. And it has become abundantly clear to me that what's happened to families in the U.S., and in particular, the rise in the share of kids living with one-parent households, how this has primarily happened outside the college-educated class, these trends are really...
This is something that Kevin Sanders actually highlighted with the high-value men and stuff like that. He actually highlighted this toward, I think, in like mid-2020.
important to what we're seeing with child poverty, inequality, undermining social mobility. And I just got to the point.
You can see, if you look at this, basically, what college and educated people did was basically stay fairly even, right? Fairly equal. Okay, they maintained, right? Everybody else tanked. Okay, in the 90s, everybody started off pretty much even. In the in 80s, which is late. In the 70s, I do believe the people with the high school diploma actually married more, right? That tanked in the 90s, and these are white people. These are not black folks, right? That tanked in the 90s, and then in 2010s, basically. The middle class, what we call the middle class folks, working class, middle class folks tanked. Okay. Now your top 10% of people are still what? They're maintaining, but that's not going to hold because they only have like one kid. Okay, continuing.
Or I felt like we couldn't keep having these conversations about income inequality and threats to social mobility without taking up this issue of family structure, and in particular, the class divergence in family structure head on.
It's not just a matter of whether they're living with two married parents, but what does it do for their economic security, as it were? What did you find, depending on whether you have two married parents in the house or not?
Higher income, higher educated parents are more likely to be married. But even adjusting for that and comparing kids who are in otherwise similar situations, but for this difference in whether they have two parents or one parent in the home, we see that kids with two parents, they're more likely to go to college. They're more likely to graduate college. They're more likely to have higher earnings and be married themselves as adults. This is why this is an issue we really need to care about, because this is yet another way that the college educated class is pulling away from everyone else, setting their kids up in a much better circumstances to graduate college, to achieve higher earnings. And we're perpetuating advantage and disadvantage across generations by allowing this class divergence to persist and not trying to break this cycle.
Melissa, another significant factor that you address in the book is gender, whether it's the father or the son. There's a
Well, I think AI will replace medical auditing. It already has started. It hasn't replaced it, but it's already started. A lot of your exams and X-rays are double checked by AI already. So a lot of that's already in place. It just hasn't come full circle yet, but it's in the works. And see, you got one from Wannabe Mystic. BGS, why should we as black men care about society collapsing? Should we just adopt the Joker mentality and laugh? You can. If you like living in a dysfunctional society where you're going to get shot at and hurt and robbed and stuff like that, you want to live a third world lifestyle, fine. Yeah. Personally, I do not. Okay. I'd rather try to fix it. Okay. It's like laughing about sitting in a burning building and laughing while you're getting burnt up. I ain't there yet. I'm not that kind of black pill.
Difference, and particularly in marriageable men, one of the issues is the drop off of marriageable men, which really struck me. I was quite surprised at that.
Yeah, here I'm talking about both cause and effect, and why this is a really sort of damaging cycle that our society has gotten itself into. Part of the explanation in my read of the evidence for why marriage has fallen outside the college educated class, why single motherhood has become much more.
Sam, see, that's not the issue. Okay. That is not the issue. Okay. This is not the even when Dennis Prager and Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman, all that kind of shit, they weren't talking the same kind of stuff, right? Because they didn't care about black boys either. So it's different. It's a different issue.
More common outside the college educated class is partly driven by the economic circumstances of what's happened to non-college
what's good,
men.
Doc?
So we've talked a lot about this at various points. There have been a number of shocks, that have eroded the economic security, economic position of non-college educated men, both in an absolute sense and also relative to what women themselves are earning. Here I'm going to sound very unromantic, David. This has decreased the value of the marriage proposition for these groups. If men are less likely to be financial providers, if they're bringing in less income on their own than less income than the women can bring in on their own, the value proposition of marriage, both for the men and the women in these affected groups, have decreased.
Where have you heard this before? Hurricane Greg with the $10. Appreciate you. Where have you heard this before? Doesn't it sound a lot like what went on in the black community for like 40 years, 40, 50 years? Same shit, almost verbatim. And this is, you tell how nervous she is. This is a highly educated, upper middle class, well, really elite white woman saying the same shit that lower class black women were saying, what, 40 years ago?
So I think that's part of the story here. And we also know that men who are out of work, who aren't stably employed, have a lot of other challenges that might not make them, desirable or reliable partners.
Why? Because they're what? Because they're what? That's why.
Or fathers in the household. So that's part of the story. But then what happens is there's millions of boys growing up without dads in their house.
You've identified an issue. There's a reams of data in here to really support your conclusions. But what can we do about it as a society? And be more specific with respect to Bloomberg, with people who are running companies, who need to employ people, who need to keep the economy going. Why is this so important to us, and what can we do about it?
Okay, well, I'll start there. All of the emphasis we have in our policy debates about increasing skills, increasing employability, increasing access to family-sustaining wages, all of that should take on heightened urgency when we realize that it's not just affecting the economic insecurity of individuals, but has really spilled over into the social sphere, pulled men apart from families in a way that's really weakened society and has ramifications going forward. So also investing in, the skills of non-college educated adults today will have this generational effect of setting kids up in homes where they're better able to succeed in the education system, to develop their own skills, to be more productive workers in the future, and contribute more to a positive society. So all of that takes on heightened urgency when we recognize the impact it's having on families. Outside of that, I think it's really important, and again, potentially uncomfortable, but important that we reestablish a social norm of two-parent families for kids in this country. The fact that 30% of U.S. kids are now being raised outside of two-parent.
Say white kids. Say it right, white girl. Say it right, white girl.
Home more than in any other country in the world is not good for U.S. kids. It's not good for families. It's not good for the single parents whose economic security is undermined, and it's not good for society more broadly. We need to be honest about that. Commit to strengthening families as part of our policy response to increasing income inequality, eroding social mobility.
What can I tell you? Yeah, in other words, white people have finally got the flu. Okay, black folks have had the flu for eons. White folks have finally got the flu. That's the next wave. Okay, that is the next wave. I've been trying to tell you. I've been telling you that this was coming since 2017, right? That the economics of the situation will finally catch up to black women first, and then to white women. Me and nameless protagonists have been saying that this tangle of pathology that Clark talked about in 1965 is spreading globally. Okay, China has a similar program right now going on, trying to enhance and encourage a two-parent household. They're having the same problem. South Korea, they have no idea what the fuck they're going to do, because they have their heads in their hands. They have their heads in their hands. MLR, thank you for the cash app. Appreciate you. I think that's it as far as cash apps are concerned. Mr. Blue Collar, thank you for the cash app. That was earlier. Anyway, there was something. Let me see if I can find it. Valeri actually sent me something. So since we got a little time, tomorrow is AMA. So if you guys want to get in and talk about this, we can talk about it tomorrow, because I don't think I'm going to have time for a panel today, even though I know everybody's chomping at the bit. But the thing is, when I say feminism is failing, okay, and this stuff is spreading, okay. This is a little too long, but we'll speed it up. We'll give it a 1.5, and we'll give you guys a taste that this stuff is spreading. It's not just here, and this is the problem. That's why it's a global problem. That's how come they have to fix it. The thing is, we have to be on the cutting edge of this. In other words, because they ain't gonna give a shit. Okay, they ain't gonna give a shit. We have to have our buckets ready in the front of the line, so we get ours before they get theirs, right?
Like the Asian society is growing, and it's a big issue.
The speed of aging is really fast compared to any country's experience.
So our birth rate is also declining so fast.
Population is falling.
A lot of women are scared to have children because of the reality of living in South Korea.
South Korea, a nation heralded for its meteoric economic rise and vibrant culture, finds itself at a crossroad. After a remarkable journey from the ashes of post-war devastation to modern prosperity, that has brought forth complex challenges, intertwining the threads of demographics, the economy, and societal values. At the forefront of those complex challenges is the falling birth rate, which is now the world's lowest.
My name's Jin John. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I've been making films and television for 17 years. I have been making a documentary around egg freezing. The egg freezing option is becoming a growing trend, not just for women who have cancer, but people who wanted to do it as a social egg freezing. So,
In other words, didn't MDK Williams just talk about that? We just showed that, what, a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago? Same shit, okay?
without any medical problems, storing your eggs in order to delay childbearing years, in order to get ahead in life or chase a career or do other things, and to look into having children at a later stage. I am 38 years old.
That sounds like that's the essence of feminism. She's 38. He's 38. Same shit, okay? They're just on a track faster now. This is where we're headed. That's why they're scared. Blade, the day walker, the problem with Keynesian economics, you will eventually run out other people's money. True. It's true. Keynes was come from a different time where the gold standard was still part of the economics. Okay, that stopped a long time ago. Would it be accurate to say that feminism is causing our country to fail because it's winning and eventually governments will push it out? No. Actually, the whole experiment failed. In other words, when women didn't want to be breadwinners and take on the equality of men, that's when it failed. That's what it pushed for. When your own people, own people that you're pushing for don't want to accept it, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fail. So it's failed. What you're going to have is a wrecked society. Okay. The spread is incredible to see. No culture to date has stopped feminism spread, even with all available information about its intentions and stats. That's because the environment, the post-industrial environment that is spreading to these other countries, and you spread feminism seeds, okay, it's going to populate. It's going to populate. It's not like cancer. It's worse than cancer. It's like COVID. Anyhow, let's continue.
39 in a few months, and then it's my last year of my 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She sounds like MDK Williams, doesn't she? She'll be taking shots.
Jin wants children one day. It's about
one day. She's 39. Okay?
Finding the right time before it's too late.
In other words, she's trying to get a buzzer beater. And she's not married either, right? So the same shit that Susan Vinker was talking about is happening in Korea on steroids.
For a growing number of South Koreans, like aspiring drummer and restaurateur Lee Kyuna, having children is simply not on the agenda.
The reason why I don't want children, or I didn't really thought about it, is because I think Korea is a very bad society, a very bad condition to raise a child at this point.
South Korea is ranked the world's most expensive place to raise a child. Real estate prices are sky high. And
it's coming back to money, right? Now, when they were poor and they were rural, they had almost 7 children per female, right? Now it's less than 1, and all of a sudden, money's important. Really?
The capital, Seoul, where half the population lives, is one of the world's top 10 most expensive cities to live.
The cost of raising a child in Korea is ridiculous. Not about just buying your own house, your own real estate. It's also about what everybody judged you by, your parents, like what kind of brand you're wearing, what kind of brand your baby is wearing.
Prices are just so high with everything, living costs, just to get a home and you know.
Don't they sound like American women? Don't they sound like American women? No, they sound like Black American women. Do they not?
Just to put kids through education, that's a lot of money. It's probably unrealistic for people who are working in their prime of their life or prime of their fertility age. So before 35, it's really daunting to even think about being able to have a child. And
they've been groomed to be men, okay? They've been groomed to be men.
Raise children.
Whatever the true cause, South Korea's plummeting birth rate has been making headlines. The reality, though, is the trend is decades old, and not just being driven by women or singles.
선택적인 폭이 넓어졌잖아요. 그리고 그걸 사회에서 사회적으로 또 인정을 해주고 하니까 그런 면에서는 지금 예전보다는 뭐 지금은 선택적인 많아지고 뭐 옵션으로 살고 있지만은 다음 세대는 또 어떨지 모르겠어요. 또 의무적으로 뭐 무조건 한 명은 나야 된다 이런 그런 정책도 나올 수도 있을 수 있겠죠.
그럼 사다 드릴까? 저는 지금 너무 좋아요. 제 생활이 그냥 신랑이랑 시원한 맥주 한잔 마시고 그런 일가가 너무 재밌고. 근데 이제 국가적으로 봤을 때는 안 좋죠. 이제 점점 저출산으로 막 이렇게 진행되고 있으니까. 근데 저희 생활은 지금 요즘에는 결혼해가지고 그런 부분도 많은데 저희는 생활이 너무 재밌고 좋아요.
So the trend is not new.
The problem in Korea is the drop is so fast. It's like a gradual decrease, and then just collapse. So we are actually having the lowest birth rate in the world.
The earliest number that we have at the present is 1960. It was, believe it or not, 6.1.
See?
So an average Korean woman was expected to have 6 children. Now that fell to about 2.06. 2.1 is the ideal replacement rate if you want to make the population steady, and that was in 1983. In 2005, the total fertility rate was 1.08.
But it dropped to below 0.8 as of 2023. So it is simply the lowest.
Clues as to how this came about lie in South Korea's dramatic economic rise, a few decades after the Korean War.
In other words, the economy waters those seeds, okay, and causes these conditions, okay, in women. It's global. Obsidian, O'Shea, Black Ram, ARC, AM, KS, BGS, Ramel, which is really Rich the Bad Guy, the Black Minister Hall of Fame inaugural class. Thoughts at Black Men's Hall of Fame. Hey, sure, somebody should do it. Anyhow, y'all. I'll play like a couple more minutes of this. One thing is, this is global. It's not just here. China's going through the same thing. If I had more time, I'd probably play a few more videos. But the thing is, we don't want to be here all night, and we have stuff to do. So, and I got to get ready for the doc. So.
After the Korean War, nothing remained. No economic infrastructure, no economic resources, and South Korea was probably the poorest country in the world.
That kind of poorest country in the whole world has been industrialized quickly for the last 50 years. So it became, in terms of GDP, the 10th largest economy. So that was something unprecedented experience in modern history.
But because that economic growth happened in so compressed a period of time, now we are witnessing a lot of issues and a lot of problems. Advanced countries, they achieved that level of economic growth and economic development over centuries.
Yeah.
So over centuries, they changed their social infrastructure and cultural, political,
Yes.
and all the other
Yes.
important
Say it again, Asian boy. Say it again.
Institutional dimensions had time to grow, had time to evolve with the economic development. But in Korea, the economic development is so fast. The other very important institutional dimensions were not able to keep up with that economic growth.
In other words, your material culture changed faster than your cultural culture, your societal culture, right? It takes 140 years to change that, right? They did basically the material culture changed within 60, and it's still changing. That's like it's coming apart. Anyway.
Basics like welfare support, shorter working hours, and maternity leave are only just beginning to take hold in Korea. One thing that did track with economic growth was the healthcare system, which is so good, Koreans are now living longer than ever.
유엔에서 정의를 하죠. 그 고령 사회는 65세 이상의 노인으로 분류되는데 전체 인구의 14%, 초고령 사회는 그게 20%가 되는 시점을 말합니다. 그래서 저희 대한민국 통계청의 인구 추계 예측에 따르면 우리는 19년에 이미 고령 사회로 진입했고요. 오늘 현재 65세 이상 인구 비율이 18.4%입니다. 18.4%고 이게 매달 0.1%씩 늘어나고 있어요.
They've done it in compressed time, but all these problems that a falling child birth rate and stuff like that is going to cause within 15 years is already apparent, right? It's going to happen. It's already really started to happen. It's just becoming critical. Basically, the South Koreans are now free to refuse to fuck the South Korean men, and now they can marry black men where they belong. So shit. Okay. We ain't gonna even talk about that one. Anyhow, y'all. In other words, we got some closing questions, and we're gonna get out of here. So, hour and 4 minutes. I wanted to play that because we have been talking about it, all right? And A lot of times they say we talk about women and it doesn't mean anything, and stuff that we talk about here has no ramifications on the broader society or the broader world. Bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. Okay. We're here to learn. In fact, the black manosphere is ahead of the curve, which I wanted to place us ahead of the curve, right? Whether you accepted it or not, I want to place us ahead of the curve. So at least we'll know. At least whether you believe it or not, you say, okay, I heard this someplace else before, so this is familiar, instead of getting caught by surprise. That's why we're here. That's why it's important. That's why they listen to us. Believe it or not, they listen to us. You know, I know they listen to me because I'm one of them guys on the list. So I know they listen to me. Okay. That's why I don't really talk about politics, right? Because there's a whole bunch of geopolitical stuff that's going on in the Middle East and in Europe that I can't really talk about in open air because I know they'll come after my ass. So, but the thing is, this is also important. But we have been telling you this for the last 5 or 6 years. Okay, that this is coming, right? This is coming. This is coming. This is coming. Now it's here. Hell, you got brothels, open brothels in New York City and Los Angeles. Okay. You got empty downtown streets in San Francisco and Oakland. There's a whole bunch of stuff. The whole wave is happening, right? Uh, the remote work is unleashing passport bro. So you have arbitrage with in the dating and mating scene, which you've never had before. So a lot of stuff is happening in lightning speed. And feminism as an experiment because women do not want to be breadwinners. Okay, and they have said it over and over again. That's how come they keep saying marriageable men or what is it? Qualified marriageable men comes down to economics. If you don't train the boys, you put the boys and girls in competition, and you put the thumb on the scale so that the girls earn more money. Guess what's going to happen? Okay, you're not going to have. They're not going to have marriageable men because you didn't produce them. Society produces its members and raises members for to be widgets to fit into society. If you fuck that up, guess what's going to happen? Society is going to come apart, which it is doing. That's how come feminism is, in essence, is dead and on its way out. It's dead. Feminism as a person is a dead female walking right now, in my opinion. You heard it from here. I could be wrong, but it's my opinion. Anyhow, let's read some stuff. Dardar says, keep it a buck. This karma is on a global scale. Yes, it does. Well, you can give it more than a buck. Okay. Keep it 1,000. Okay. Been on the list for 25 years. And well, yeah, yep, I have. So in other words, be just right. SYSBM. SYSBM, in other words, basically SYSBM has altered, right, from what it was to what it is now. SYSBM used to be just so brothers that didn't fit in the black society could find other places, right? Save themselves, right? Now it's not just black men, it's all men, okay? But black men of all stripes and colors, you're gonna have to do what's best for you. Cannot be wedded to this dysfunctional system in society, especially the gynocracy that will not correct itself and let go of feminism and these effects. Okay, because it's a dying it's a dying matriarchy and headed to a crash. Legalized prostitution will balance the scale. Actually, it'll make it worse. That's why prostitution has to be controlled. Otherwise, guess what? Prostitutes don't have kids for everybody, unless you're gonna have village wives where you have a certain have brood mares to have babies for you. Okay, this is a societal problem. Okay, has nothing to do with sex. Sex is a byproduct of reproduction. Okay, reproduction is what they need most, and how these kids are raised in parenting. Parenting styles and parenting structures. Okay, it's important. They don't have that, and they've isolated men and women to the point where you can't even do it anymore. You haven't trained men even how to raise kids. Okay, to raise boys, you haven't. So now now it is what it is. On Thou Wild, like Marcellus Wiley says. Yep, Marcellus Wiley. Shout out to my Compton dude. Okay. Anyhow, y'all, I'm gonna check for some cash apps. If there's none, we are out of here. Let's see. Bloomberg. Okay, yeah. There's Dr. Johnson with the link. Rashad, thank you for the Cash App. And that is it. All right, folks. That's it. I got to get out of here. I said, Valeria says, I was watching a Blasian couple, Korean wife and Ado's husband. She was being a tiger mom to the kids, and dad was a chill one. Most Korean women can be themselves with brothers, it seems. Yeah, because Korea is a very, very stringent authoritarian patriarchy, right? They're really, really very stringent patriarchy. And the women are not having it. So it is what it is. Anyhow, y'all, let me get out of here. I gotta go. I'll see you guys. I'll be on Dr. T's in about at 4 o'clock. So that's in about 30 minutes. So I will check you guys later. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So if there's any questions, write them down and hold them till to my Black Pill Friday. We can do it tomorrow. And if you want a panel or whatnot, we'll do it tomorrow. Answer questions and do a panel. All right. All right. Good, cool beans, good stuff. And let's have Dusty take us out.